I want to wish everyone a wonderful Shabbos and a good Yom Tif. This coming Shabbos after Shabbos, this Saturday night, begins the holiday of Shavuos. And I want to just quickly talk about both the weekly portion as well as the holiday of Shavuos. Almost every single year, the Shabbos before Shavuos, which we celebrate the giving of the Torah on Har Sinai, on Mount Sinai, and a culmination of the whole Pesach story, the whole Passover story, where Hashem took the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim, God took the Jewish people out of Egypt, was all to give us the Torah on Har Sinai, that we should accept the Torah on Mount Sinai, the 613 commandments. Almost every year, the portion before is Parshas Bamidbar, the portion this coming that we're going to read tomorrow. The portion speaks about the counting of the Jewish people. Rashi says in the beginning of the portion that God continuously, throughout the 40 years and continuing on after that, God continuously counts the Jewish people, and it's an endearment, a belovedment that God has. He's constantly looking after the Jewish people, and he's counting them like a person who has some sort of precious heirloom or something which has tremendous value, and they're constantly looking after it. That's what the Torah portion primarily speaks about in this week's portion. What is the connection with Shavuos? That almost every year we need to hear the portion of Bamidbar, of Numbers, and this portion before coming into the holiday of Shavuos, the giving of the Torah Mount Sinai. So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says something very beautiful, a blessed memory. Moshe Feinstein, he says, first of all, we could explain on a simple level that the portion before Bamidbar is Bichu Kosai, which we spoke about last week, which is the idea of us choosing, making the right choices in life and choosing to fulfill, to engrossing ourselves, to making that commitment of Torah study and learning and growing and fulfillment of the commandments, of the mitzvos. However, the latter part of the portion is what happens, is what's the tochacha, is what happens if we don't adhere to it. The exile, the long exile which we're currently in, and everything which that entails. So we have that in the second half. So Rav Moshe Feinstein says, so that we shouldn't come into Shavuos hearing the startling klalos and the curses and the admonishments that are in the portion at the end of Vayikra, of Leviticus, of Bichu Kosai. So there's a break, a split of the portion of Bamidbar, of Numbers, that deals with counting of the Jewish people. But he says something deeper than that. He says, however, we can also explain it as follows. A lot of times we get the feeling, when it comes to Torah study, when it comes to our commitment to learning Torah and keeping the commandments, the mitzvos, we look at ourselves like we're wholly lacking. We're lacking. We're not, compared to, of course, great rabbis, great people that have the pedigree, they have the ability, and from a young age, and they continue on, and people that are gifted. Yes, they could be scholars, Torah scholars. They can have that tremendous connection to the Torah. Whereas someone like myself, someone like me, I'm a Jewish person, certainly, but the commitment that it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And coming into the holiday of Shavuos, the time of the giving of Torah Mount Sinai, one might think that this is a holiday for the Talmidei Chachamim, for the Torah scholars, for people that are totally dedicated and involved and are gifted, etc. So Rav Moshe Feinstein explains that in order to bring home the point that every single Jewish person has that connection to the Torah. Yisrael is the acronym for Yesh Shisha Ribu Osios La Torah. There's 600,000 letters in the Torah, 600,000 main neshamos, souls, which represent the entire Jewish nation, and that every Jewish person has a chelek in the Torah, just like 600,000 letters, a certain way of counting the Torah scroll. And if we're missing that one letter, then the Torah scroll would be puzzle, it would be invalid, it would not be kosher. So too, if every single Jewish person has that tremendous connection, regardless of their background, regardless of where they're coming from, regardless of their their how gifted they are per se, or how they their connection to learning and how deep they're involved with it. So in order to drive home this point, we always read almost every single year that every Jewish person counts, the counting of every single Jewish person. And every single Jewish person has a tremendous connection to the Torah, has a tremendous connection to God. And that is a lesson which we have to learn and we have to read every year. And only then, when we hear this lesson, and we have that realization, are we able to come into the holiday of Shavuos. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination that God created to test us and to challenge us in this world, which we all have, a lot of times, one of the ways that the Talmud in Tractate Sukkah says the Yetzer Hara has 7 names, different names of the Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination, where each name represents a different way a different ploy, a different way that it tries to get a person, entices a person, tries to get a person to stray from God, to stray from the Torah. And one of the ideas, one of the ways is that the Yetzer Hara brings the person very down, makes a person very low. Who am I? What difference does it make? It doesn't really matter. And nothing could be further from the truth. Every single mitzvah that we do, every single connection we do to Hashem, everything connection that we have to Hashem, to God, is tremendously beloved. And we have to take that with us and go into the holiday of Shavuos, and may we continue and grow, and always keep and have that connection and always feel that connection. Okay.